Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, back with another photo of the week. And I have a guest, a special guest on the line. And no, it's not Perry Farrell, but it's pretty close. It's Ari Halbkram, a business partner of mine. Ari, hi.
Hi.
Ari, how are you?
I'm great, Jared. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, just peachy. So everybody's looking at this photo right now. And what do you remember about this day, right before this happened?
Well, to be honest, the thing I remember most about right before this happened was that we met Jim Marshall, which to me was a very cool part of that day.
That is true. I do recall a very interesting character coming back into the boardroom to have a nice discussion with his scotch in one hand and his Leica in the other.
Yeah, that was an interesting part of the day. But more than that, I think it was interesting because this has become a really big part of professional music, is the appearances that certain very well recognized musicians make. And this was sort of a strange thing because despite all of our experiences in the music business, this was really the first time we were at an event like this, which was really a charity-based, corporate-sponsored event.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Ari and I go way back. We've done a lot of work together. We've been in business for a long time, doing a lot of work in the music industry, and we ended up on tour together doing our internet marketing, media, whatever we did back then to help Perry basically grow his views online, which we did a great job of. And we were, what was it, San Francisco?
Yeah.
We were in San Francisco at a Bloomingdale's, for Ari was saying it was a VH1 charity event. And there was a lot of hanging out going on before the show. Perry was shopping. I was taking pictures of Perry shopping. Ari was doing video of were you doing video of Perry shopping?
To some degree. There was more of it that had to do with the fact that it was this it was not just VH1, it was John Varvatos in VH1. So it was like this big mashup of new fashion and music history. And my role was really to sort of document some of the music history that was going on, because scattered around that store were all these photographs, famous photographs of musicians through the history of recorded rock music.
And namely, Danny Clinch had a lot of photos that he was that were being shown. I'm not sure if he was there that night. Maybe he was.
As far as I remember, we were told he wasn't there. They were going to dinner together.
Ah, all right. So anyway, let's see. The discussion going on backstage with Perry was, not backstage, in the boardroom, because we're in Bloomingdale's here, was, should I get into my underwear and go stand with the mannequins? Was that pretty much how it was going? What happened?
Yeah, there were all these mannequins throughout the store, and I think you had shot him
That's right.
posing with some other mannequins, which were clothed, but were really interesting-looking mannequins. And then, as we had been led to this back boardroom, it was past the men's underwear section, and there was this really funny-looking series of men's mannequins dressed only in their underwear, and I think the idea came from there.
Yeah, and then it was kind of like a joke at first, and then I guess throughout the night it just became more of something that Perry actually wanted to do. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was strange. It's one of those things, and that happened quite a bit on that tour, where a suggestion was made, and I guess after very little discussion, but really, like, not to say that nobody put any thought into it, it was just, I don't think anyone really needed to convince him to do it. I think he just kind of thought it would be really funny to do.
All right, there is something that happened extremely fast. We ran out there, Perry snuck on into his pose, got right in his pose, and I shot 3 or 4 pictures, different framings. I was using the Nikon D2XS at the time, 17-55, 2.8 Nikkor, 640 ISO, 1/80th of a second at 2.8, shot at 28 millimeters. So the reason I shot really quick is because I didn't want him standing there too long. We didn't want to draw too much attention to what we were doing. So basically it was get in there, get my exposure as right as possible, which I guess it was pretty close, and 3 or 4 shots, and then he was done, and then that's when you see us running back in.
May I interject something funny about that part of it?
Interject.
What made the whole moment of capturing that photo so funny was that we had been at Bloomingdale's for probably 3 or 4 hours, and we were there during sound check, and which was really strange. It was at the cologne counter. It was a very strange place to kind of do this, but by the time you had taken that photograph and the decision had been made to actually follow through with it, he was running outside in his underwear while there were probably 200 or 300 people within 20 or 30 feet drinking champagne and eating really expensive food because it was a fundraising event. So that's what, I mean, beyond the fact that we didn't want him to kind of be visible like that to anybody walking in off the street, there were actually a really large group of people eating and drinking, and we really wanted to avoid them seeing it all together.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, this photo kind of took on a life of its own. It's one of those photos that everybody stops at when they see it in the book. I guess it's the shock value. It ran in Rolling Stone in the US, it ran in Rolling Stone in Germany, and it's just one of those pictures that I actually blew this one up to 40 by 60.
Yeah.
And that is in my basement right now, rolled up in a tube with the other 20 some other gallery pieces. But it's just one of those things that happens so quick, and then you don't really know what you have, because it wasn't like I was shooting pictures and then looking at them to make sure we got it right. It wasn't like a whole studio setup. It was a, hey, let's run out here and do this, and bam, it just worked. It's just one of those things that just worked.
Yeah, and it's in some ways that's as much a testament to your ability to capture that moment as it was Perry as an individual, because Perry was really willing to kind of do all kinds of things on that tour, and I credit him a lot with that. I mean, we would do these awesome flash mobs, and he would just go out on the street. He was always really friendly and willing to kind of meet people, and he was very open to being photographed in just any potential situation, and that alone was probably one of the coolest things to happen on that tour, because it was such a spur-of-the-moment thing, and he just completely went with it.
Yeah, I can't agree more. He did a lot on tour that was fun to shoot. Just he loved having us there to talk to shoot just to do different photos. Hey, let's shoot these pictures in the back of the bus with all the wine and everything, and it was just, I guess it's one of those experiences. Like you always said, the first day we got on tour, you typed it onto a blog. What did you say when you were just sitting across from him, you and him in the bus?
Well, it was a strange feeling, because I had grown up being just a huge fan of Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros, and the whole first day when we quote unquote booked that job, it was such a whirlwind of activity that to be sitting across from him at 3 o'clock in the morning on the bus from Philadelphia to Baltimore, and it was just the two of us, and there was no pretense. He was very unassuming, and we just sat there talking for maybe 2 minutes. I really wasn't sure what I could say to him at that point, but when it was time to go to bed, he was very gracious, and I was very appreciative, and I just said, thanks, Perry, for taking us with you on this journey, and he was just really cool about the whole thing and wished me a good night.
Yeah, there's so many stories about all the bunks and all that good stuff. Seeing him roll out of one at 7 in the morning, go hey, and then roll right into the other one. We'll have to save those stories for another time. So, Ari, thank you for joining me on this call and reminiscing a little bit about this photo.
Thank you, Jared, and all of your many Fro fans.
Oh, there's Fro fans. Ari's going to have a Fro one day. If he lets his hair grow, you could get a Fro.
Yeah.
Ari knows Fro.
I do.
All right, anyway. Jared Polin, Fro knows photo.com. See ya.